Hello everyone, this is Mr. Who, and I teach pre-calculus and prob stats or finite here at Heron High School this year. So pleased to meet you. I hope we'll get along if we get to work together here to help your students succeed. A little bit about myself before we get started on our course content. I graduated from IU Bloomington with a Bachelor of Science in Education, so this is exactly what I wanted to do as I got out, and lo and behold, here I am. It is my third year at Heron, so this is coming after 2 years, with the first year being pre-COVID, and then we, of course, had the pandemic to worry about and that whole situation last year. But I made it work. My students definitely have worked with me to make it work as well. So I'm happy to be here for another year to try and help your students succeed in their respective courses. Other than that, as far as why I teach here and why I love math, I've just always loved math. It's kind of been a passion of mine. I have recently gained some other passions for things like language learning, which stems a lot from the same skills you would learn math with, so that's kind of a follow from that. Um, Generally, when I teach math, I like to provide options to students. I don't really like to have them be shoehorned into learning and memorizing formulas. I really want them to think about what they're doing that makes their presentation of the work and the final answer understandable to them as it does to me. So that's a little bit about how I teach students here at Heron. Other than that, let's talk about those courses a little bit, and depending on which course your student is in, pre-calc or prob and stats slash finite, I will have a link in the description to kind of point you towards that timing. So let's start with prob and stats. Okay, so first up is Prob and Stats. Now, Prob and Stats slash Finite is a 2 semester, well, each is 1 semester. Prob and Stats 1 semester, Finite another semester, that talks about statistics, probability, and some other things, such as what kind of maths your student will see later on in their life. So things like finance and taxes, benefits from jobs, etc., those kinds of things. So let's start with Prob and Stats. I'm sure this is the one you're here for because that's the one they're currently in. If your student is a part of my Prob and Stats class, it means they're a senior, which means they may or may not need this course to graduate, as like they may or may not need to pass. If your student is working hard in this class, it's still worth some credit. Uh, and I would definitely talk with your student as well as their counselor if you need more information on that, like what they need to graduate. So let's start with what's in this semester, Prob and Stats. The first semester is all about observing, making, and analyzing our own data. And that's using like data displays such as pie graphs, bar charts, all that other stuff. And other questions we do ask in this class, in this course, in this semester, is talking about probability and how we can compute the likelihood of events happening. Things like flipping coins and rolling dice. That kind of deal also is in here. And we are going to be going through that later in the semester. Right now we're talking about data displays. So that's mostly what we do here in Prob and Stats right now. We're doing data displays. Most of the class stuff is still the same, but I do want to let you know here's how it goes down. So when you go see it in the grade book, here's what you can expect. You can expect to see a bell work or skill check grade. That's collected every day at the end of the class to make sure they are paying attention to the notes and getting the gist. There is always a practice, okay, an IP. Right now we're on Google Forms, but we will eventually change to Sapling, so that is something to look out for. And then, of course, there is masteries and mastery projects, which we haven't started, but they will show up eventually. And those are usually pretty smooth. Okay, I would say they do get their regular abbreviations, late passes, all that good stuff that they usually come with it here at Heron. And if you need more information on that, I highly suggest contacting the counselor because I'm sure they know a little bit better than I do. Um, Other than that, students here will use Google Classroom just like they do with every class here at Heron, and they can actually find this syllabus on our course page. And so if you're also there, you're looking at what they're doing on their classes, you can find this in the course page too. Last thing I want to mention here is that I have office hours Wednesday in the morning and Friday in the afternoon. So it is a little weighted towards the end of the week, which there will be opportunities for drop-in office hours, so I wouldn't worry too much to see if that makes it fit. But again, your seniors are at a point where they can kind of take control of their own learning, is what I really want to try to get them to do. So leave it up to them. Maybe push them to go to office hours a couple times. That will definitely help them succeed. This course may seem like, a breeze compared to the other math courses at this level, but let me tell you that it's deceptively difficult to think about. Okay, there are a lot of difficult concepts that are maybe not so easy to think about as a student. I myself, speaking from experience, these concepts don't really come to you if you're still in the learning phase, the younger phase. Only really when you start thinking about how to apply it can you really learn about it. So that's all I have on Prob and Stats. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at jehu@heronhighschool.org, and I'd be happy to talk with you about what you can do to help your students succeed in Prob and Stats. All right, and here we have the pre-calculus section. Hopefully you skipped ahead so you can watch this section. This is a course following Algebra 2, typically in the tree of math courses at the high school level. My majority of my classes are juniors and seniors mixed with a couple of sophomores sprinkled in, so depending on what class your student is in, I will be saying things to kind of cater to their needs. Okay, so first things first, what is pre-calculus? Pre-calculus is basically the bridge between the lower, more simple math courses in algebra, geometry, and what you cover in those, and the more complicated, practical calculus courses we offer here at Heron, or they may take it at the college level. So here are the things we actually talk about in this class. We kind of continue on from Algebra 2 talking about functions, okay, quadratic, polynomial functions, rational, all that good stuff, talking about observing them in the plane. With the second semester, which will be at a future time, talking about trigonometry, that's sine and cosine, and their cyclical appearance in the graph, and how they're used in real life. Aside from that, if your student is a junior or below, so junior or sophomore, they will also learn about limits, which will help them get acquainted to language used in calculus, as well as get them started off on the right foot when they go to calculus. If your student is a senior, this may be the last course they take, like math course they take. They may not choose to pursue math in college. If they do end up pursuing math, or they have to take a math course in college, pre-calc is there to set them up to succeed in, let's say, a calculus course or a finite math course. The skills you develop in here will help you in future math courses. It's not necessarily about the content for seniors, it's just more about the discipline. So here's kind of what I do here in this class to make sure they know exactly how the lessons and the content goes out to them. So we have practice grades, which are assigned daily, assuming there is no mastery on that day, and they're broken down into IPs and note checks. So note checks are basically, they show me the notes that they've taken it, and they just get a raw point check there. It's usually 10 points, and if they didn't do it, then they lose out on those points. Right? This is supposed to help them develop good note-taking skills. They already know everything about my expectations if they're taking it on hand or by guided notes. IPs are usually on Delta Math, which I know some students are not super big fans of. I totally get it. It is just a tool to kind of make sure we all are funneling into the same system and that we can kind of develop our formal approach to it, because Delta Math is a little more formal than the way we talk about it. However, tests and masteries will always be on paper. So regardless of whether your student likes or dislikes Delta Math, they will never have to worry about Delta Math when it comes to taking the mastery. And they should always strive to understand all the content based on the study guide and the notes that we take in class. Okay. Other than that, we have the same old of the late class remediation policy. There are classroom calculators they can use, and typically all the resources are on Google Classroom, as well as you would expect from all of their classes they're taking. This syllabus that we're actually looking at can be found on the Classroom as well. So if you are, constantly accessing their Google Classroom, you can see this as well. Now, last thing I want to mention is my office hours are Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday in the morning, Friday in the afternoon. And if you really want to help your students succeed, what I would suggest is try to give them a positive attitude about pre-calculus. A lot of the students I get, maybe not so big of a fan of math. And attitude really changes it, right? Whether they're positive or negatively thinking about it can change the whole way they learn, right? So My goal is to try to get them to think positively about all the stuff we talk about, okay? And it would definitely help me as much as it would help your student to kind of shed positive light on this subject. All right, that's it from me. Thanks for listening, and I hope to work together with you to help your students succeed. See you later.